Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Dynasty Dingers podcast. It is nearing the end of July. We are coming up on the trade deadline next Tuesday. But first, Doc and I want to break down a little bit more of the draft from last week and then kind of get into second half performers that we will be keeping an eye on, as well as a few Dynasty pieces. But first, Doc, welcome back.
Man, welcome back to you. This was
Yes.
I had to carry the load last week, filling
You
as
did a
the
good
host,
job.
and the fans they weren't having it. They were clamoring for Matt to come back and save them from the agony of a disorganized, chaotic podcast with Doc Eisenhower over here. Glad to have you back. Glad to hear that you're sleeping a bit more with your baby. I found out I'm having another baby girl. Wanted the boy, being honest, but I love you, baby girl in my wife's womb. I want that athlete. I want that prospect. I want that. I got two great softball prospects now.
Yeah, and I think that's we talked a little bit before we jumped on about, when you find out the sex of your child. And it's an interesting moment for guys because you talked about your feelings and I remember my feelings. And it's in that moment where it's really just a moment, right? Like once that moment passes, you're just like, hey, I'm happy. We're having a
Mm.
kid. I just want it to be healthy. But in that moment, you definitely feel a certain kind of way. And I think that's just us being human, right? You
You
talked about your desires.
we could have got a different result because it was a blood test. We got it the early on blood test thing. It
Yep.
could have
Yep.
said this your baby has X disability
Yeah.
or Y or Z. There's so many things like or could not be alive anymore.
Yeah.
So blessed to have my second beautiful daughter. Very happy. But
Yeah,
that's
man.
just me being, hey, I'm honest. You're going to get straight shooting here, folks.
Well, and congrats, and one more to the
Thank
family. You're gonna have to keep working out, keep getting those guns a little bigger to protect them. Doc, let's jump into it though. I didn't get a chance to talk with you about the draft last week. We had Owen on, which was really nice. I thought you guys did a great job. And you and I both have touched on a few articles for Scout the Stat Line in the past week since the draft. I have some grades. That's the only real note that I want to take away since I was able to talk a little bit about pre-draft 2 weeks ago. But before we get to that, I just wanted to see if you had anything else to add coming out of the draft week.
I mean, you mean as in before the draft happened? What do you mean?
No, like in regards to the draft, you and Owen got to talk last week about,
Yeah.
how you felt about certain players, kind of a week out from recording that
Okay.
episode. Is there anything that you wanted to add?
Yeah, that was pretty fresh. Man, it was so funny with JJ Weatherall. I went from like not being too sure about him. I'm like, these other guys are physical freaks. And I didn't really know that. I've been very honest at that. I haven't been able to, other than seeing on baseball Twitter, baseball X. People have been showing endless Condon and Bazana home runs and this, that, and the other. Other than that, I haven't really got to know these guys. And so when I saw Weatherall wearing this cowboy western gear, total poser mode, just like me, I was very excited to see him. I think the Cardinals. I know you're hating that one for the Cardinals because you got to face him as a
Yeah.
Brewers fan, but I think it was just such a cool pick. He gave his thanks to Jesus Christ. I'm like, this is the Midwestern guy, right? He's going full Western. He's doing the, yeah. He seems like a Cardinal sort of pick. Yeah, I think they're gonna love him there.
Well, and I think the big takeaway that everyone is forgetting about, especially with Bazana, is
Oh
that
yeah, he's also good at baseball.
yes, Weatherall was very good at baseball.
There's that whole thing. He's actually like maybe the most well balanced offensive profile and plays some good defense from what I understand.
Yeah, no, I mean, he really is the all-around package, right? Shortstop might be a bit of a question mark, but with Mason Wynn there, I think he ultimately plays second base. But the big takeaway going into the draft that I was frustrated with was that Bazana was giving this high-touted praise when we forgot coming into the season that the difference between Weatherholt and Bazana was that Bazana was Pac-12. Competition level for Bazana was not the same as it was for JJ Weatherholt, especially Condon, right? And coming into the draft, everyone's just like, well, okay, Bazana's the guy. Like, look at his metrics, look at everything on paper, and like he is the absolute best power hitter mixed with contact. And it was like, well, no, he was Pac-12. JJ Weatherholt still, is still that guy for me coming into the draft. And then Condon obviously has the real upside power. But I
Mm-hmm.
think the Cardinals got an absolute steal. I had said I think there's 3 potential Hall of Famers in this class. I think it's Condon, Weatherholt, and maybe Bazana. And if you're talking about a potential Hall of Famer, again, that's my opinion. at 7, that's outrageous.
Potential Hall of Famer. You heard it here, folks.
Yep.
That's the hottest take. Tries to drop it casually. We're gonna remember that one. Whatever this is episode 22, I think now 20. I don't know something.
Well, and I think that's what you're looking for, right? When you're talking about the draft, especially the top 5, or you're talking about FYPD, you're looking for guys that can make that 10-year difference for your team. 15 years at the pro level. We don't think that all fantasy leagues will last 15 years, but we look at last year, right? It was Max Clark, Walker Jenkins. You had Wyatt Langford, you had Dylan Cruz, and you had Paul Skeens. Like, all of those players have the pedigree to be perennial all-stars. Now, how do you go from perennial all-star to Hall of Famer, right? That's what you're really looking for in Dynasty at the top of the FYPD. And I still have JJ Weatherholt with Bazana and Condon. Now, I think Condon in Colorado Doc is probably a pretty easy 1-1. How are you feeling with that?
We can make our guesses, and we should, and it's fun. But dude, we know that it's gonna change based on their pro debut.
Yeah.
We know this. Like Dylan Cruz, everyone's like, "Oh, it's obviously 1.1 for fantasy." Like that was the thing, and then it's switched by real quick, and then a lot of questions popped up for Cruz. He actually went way down after a cold start to this year as well, and then it seems like he's rounding into form lately, but. Wyatt Langford obviously saw his stock soar. Everything is up in the air right now, folks. If Bazana or Condon, if they start, slumping and striking out like crazy more than we expect for a polished bat, they're gonna see their stock slip a little bit. Which, frankly, if you believe in their ability now, and they struggle a little bit in the small sample size in their pro debut, that's a value play. It's probably a value play. If you believe in them, now, whatever they do basically shouldn't concern you in the end of 2024 at least. If it carries over into next year and you're seeing these signs getting worse, then yeah, okay, maybe we start to worry. But yeah, and the opposite could be true, right? If a guy like Cam Caminiti comes out there, I'm not sure if they'll let the pitchers pitch, but if one of these guys, Braden Montgomery, if he goes out there and just kills it, and has an electric 2024 pro debut, maybe anyone can move their stock up or down in the coming months.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned Montgomery at 12, which was really the last huge impact player off the board for me. And some of the grades I gave out were based off teams letting him slide. The thought of him and Roman Anthony together in the same outfield is tantalizing. Obviously, he has to come out and perform, right? But I thought that was an amazing pick for the Red Sox. Then there's a second piece within the draft I wanted to just get your take on. I didn't really strike me until today, but Burns going to the Reds at 2, signing for $9.25 million, in my opinion, now completely takes reliever risk off the table because of what they've now invested in him. Would you agree with that?
They're going to try their very best.
Yeah.
I mean, but what did we think though? Here's the thing. What did we think? Did we think he was falling outside the top 10? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So, I'm not sure if that necessarily changes that outlook. I think no matter what, if you're getting picked in the top 10 as a pitcher, teams are going to try to make it work.
You wrote about him and Smith in Sunday Smoke this week. Who did you pick as I would rather have?
I prefaced it all with what I just said about this is going to age these are all going to age in different directions.
Yes.
So I just gave the straight 1 to 10 and some names I like. And I gave my thoughts on them. I think I don't know who's better, frankly. I don't know who's going to do what. I mean, we saw Hagen Smith in his 1-game 17K performance show an incredible upside. Burns can reach slightly faster, velocity. Both have a starter's pitch mix, though. I don't know. Maybe Smith is slightly more well built. The Reds versus I was gonna say the Reds park isn't the best, but the White Sox actually have a hitter's park too. People forget that because there's so many bad hitters for them that you don't really get to take use. They don't really get the most use out of it. It's tough, man. I like them both. I like Smith's hair. It's got the cool flow. Well, he's a lefty too. I believe he is a lefty, correct?
Yeah, he's a lefty.
So that gives him a little bit of an edge, in my opinion. But honestly, I don't know enough. I just have to see their pro debuts. If I don't get to see it, that'd be interesting because they might hold. Either of them could be held out this year.
I have this running theory that lefties take a little bit longer than righties at the pro level to develop. It's just something that I follow along with my own strategy, and I think because of that, I would rather take Burns. Also, I would rather take Burns because I do prefer and I enjoy playing in points leagues. And I think Burns will lead to more wins because I like Cincinnati's offense more, right? Like those are just small pieces, but ERA, I'd probably go Smith, right? In roto category, just because Burns throws really hard. We see what happens with guys that throw really hard, and our frontline starters, they're susceptible to the home run ball. It's just how it goes. Whether the fastball is flat or not, whether there's IVB or not, the home run is a susceptible piece. In Cincinnati, as long as he keep his walks down, I still think that ERA will be around 3 in his best years because the ball's gonna fly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it'll be a lot of fun to see how these values go, north and south in the coming months.
Yeah.
Do
you think there's any shot any of these guys make a end of August, early September debut?
You're not crazy if you bet on an Angel to do it on Moore.
Christian Moore.
So, I don't know, man. I mean, it's weird. Like people don't really seem to be. He doesn't seem to be getting a lot of love, but hey, I mean, his numbers look like video game numbers: 34 home runs, crazy ratios. I think it was Owen or maybe it was you before that. Someone was saying that, oh, we don't really know if the Angels are still going to act like that.
Yeah,
and I'm like, well, Nelson Rad is like 18 years old, and they're just they skipped high A entirely. It doesn't make any sense, dude. And like, he's struggling.
Because
pretty mightily at Double A.
They're playing the AJ Preller approach, which is in San Diego, right? Where Preller is like really aggressive with his guys. But you look back on the track record of Preller and you're like, it worked out. Like CJ Abrams worked out. Like he finally is developing. Yeah, Salas is a little different because he's struggling this year. But Mackenzie Gore worked out. Like Preller's situation always seems to work out. DeVries this year, right? Single A, dominating. Single A. It's like, wow, that's a 17-year-old. That kid would literally be thinking about who he's taking to prom.
Is he dominating?
I mean, he's got 5 home runs this month.
He's doing great for his age.
But Doc, think about it. He's 17 years old. Like,
yeah, he's doing great for his age. On the season, still a 222 batting average.
For sure.
He's getting on base plenty.
But
I'm not sitting here. He looks great for his age, and yeah, those are some great power speed numbers. He's really coming along well.
And I say dominating. It's like recency bias, right? Like I think you give any 17-year-old at A ball.
I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that guy because he's doing great. But I had to nitpick you there.
No, and I get that. I'm buying into what he's doing. I don't know how we got to DeVries from the Angels, but I'm going to deviate back. So I think the Angels definitely promoted heavily because of Ohtani being there. I think now that Ohtani's gone, that's going to slow down. But if Christian Moore is on the team by September or end of September, I will admit I was wrong. At that point, it's just an organizational philosophy, which I don't understand. This team, the Angels need long-term talent. And I like Christian Moore a lot. I like him a lot more than Shanuel. But I think you could be right. I think he could be up.
Yeah. I think a dark horse in this one for me is Connor Griffin. No one's really talking about him as the lone prep bet, going early. Man, the more you look into him, 6'4", 215 as a teenager, and he's just got that. I didn't realize he had electric speed like that combined with the power. The Pirates aren't really good at developing bats, but if they can get this one to hit, I know you had some reservations because of the Skeens window, but man, I don't know. Well,
his speed is ridiculous.
We're going to find out a lot, in this pro debut. Maybe if he has a scintillating start, maybe he starts next year at high A or even Double A. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have a strong feeling about any of the high school kids that got taken. Morlando at 16 as well. I like that you're intrigued by Griffin. I went as far as saying I don't know that he's even going to be a pro bat when I was writing the article. That was a lot. Like that was, and I say that just because like the big thing coming out of the draft for him was there is question on the hit tool. The last thing I want to hear is my 17-year-old top 10 pick with a question on the hit tool. But he stole like 60 bases this high school season or something ridiculous. The power is there. So he's definitely tooled up. I am curious to see what happens at pro. I would have taken Montgomery there. And like my bias because of that is I can't wear that off. I think Montgomery paired with O'Neal Cruz, paired with Brian Reynolds, paired with Skeens in this great lineup or rotation they're going to have with Jones and Bubba Chandler. Like, you take the college bat. So I don't know. I really disagreed with taking a high schooler there.
We'll find out.
Yeah. I think that's all we have for draft conversation. We could keep going, but you and Owen did a pretty good job covering it. We're going to break into second half conversation now here, Doc. We're going to give our weekly conversation about Drew Thorpe and Alec Burleson a little bit later, because heaven forbid we'd not talk about those guys.
A sin.
First thing I want to talk with you about is a couple of the guys returning from injury. Both names to start off, or I guess all three names to start off, all are coming back from Tommy John. And first name is going to be Jacob DeGrom. My question for you is, do we see him back in the major leagues this year, A? And then B, are we pegging DeGrom as a top 5 starting pitcher headed into 2025 based off what we see in 2024?
If he can finish, if he can get back soon, and here's the thing, if he's playing, he's electric. We love it. We love to see it. If he can come back in the first 2 weeks of, I don't know when he's coming back, dude. I have no guess on that. If he comes back before August is over, finishes the year strong, maybe, maybe through that, if he gets back fast enough, maybe he sparks the Rangers to playoffs and he goes and is healthy all playoffs, sneak in a wild card spot. Then sure, yeah, we'll forget. Man, people are willing to, they're willing to forget all kinds of injury history if you throw hard enough. So, Tyler Glasnow, he's got the filthy stuff as well. And people were willing to forget all about his injury history this offseason. It was like it never happened. So, yeah.
Well,
he needs to stay healthy, and that his value will skyrocket again.
I think you're right. It'll be interesting to see what he looks like when he comes back, because this will be the second TJ for DeGrom. Obviously, we saw the lead up, right? The lead up to Tommy John was 3 years impacted by, DeGrom's hurt again. And I think the big question was, well, did he always need Tommy John? Was he constantly putting it off? Will this solve those problems, or will he come back, continue to throw 102 in the 5th inning and hurt himself again? So I think, kind of to tie into what you were saying, is we do need to see him on the field. We need to see what he looks like so that we can have a better gauge of what, going into draft season next year, we can expect from DeGrom. But it's hard because he does throw hard. Robby Ray also coming back for the Giants, absolutely tearing up the minor leagues on his rehab assignments. Obviously, in this offseason, getting traded from Seattle to the Giants, kind of an under-the-radar move since he was injured. Are you excited about Robby Ray and what he's done so far in his rehab?
I mean, yeah, I'm not really too concerned about the rehab.
Okay.
He's a star. He's a Cy Young winner. So I'm not really the whole thing to avoid. It was just a matter of avoidance, avoiding further injury, avoiding getting blown up all the time, because that is probably a bad sign. I'm sure there were a couple starts that were like whatever, not looking great, but I'm imagining he's trying not new things. He's trying to get back to his old way. What happens when I do that again? Oh yeah, okay, I can't put that slider there. Okay, great. Just testing the waters again to see what how his stuff is after all this time off. So yeah, I mean, you can look at his career. It's a roller coaster ride, man. You don't know who you're gonna get. He shouldn't have costed you much. He should have been a throw-in if you got him via trade. You can still get him via trade, but now his value is back to a pretty solid spec, as opposed to we don't know if he's gonna. Here's the problem, right? When you have TJ, one little hiccup in your recovery sets you out for the year or for another month or something crazy. So he's avoided that. So now all those discounts you could have gotten they're kind of evaporated. I like Robby Ray. He gets you the strikeouts. He managed to clamp down on his walk issue in the last few years. He's playing in a pitcher's park. I have a good feeling about it. I have him stashed in a few leagues. Wouldn't be shocking if he blew up at the other direction, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I think the ballpark is huge there. I watched Shane Bass in his start yesterday, and I think there was just a reminder of what can happen after Tommy John for any of these pitchers. He had 5 walks, and some of the pitches he just couldn't locate to save his life. And I was like, yeah, I mean, the kid has taken time off. He had walk issues in the minors on his rehab assignments. He's a young pitcher, but Robby Ray, Jacob DeGrom, the name we're about to mention here, all guys in their 30s, they can have the same issue. Like we know from the data, it takes about a full year to knock that rust off once you've come back. But I think Robby Ray pitching in San Francisco in that ballpark, as you mentioned, is a huge help. Next name, Doc, last one of our Tommy John returners that I wanted to talk about is Jeffrey Springs for Tampa. Should be back within the next 2 weeks. Is finishing a 5-inning rehab start coming this week. Hasn't had the best rehab numbers, but last time we saw Springs, he was dominating last year for Tampa before he went out with the injury. Is this a name that you're excited about, or more like Robby Ray, kind of a wait and see?
Oh, I'm actually out of these three most excited about Robby Ray.
Okay.
Not like because DeGrom, we have multiple. Like it's like every time he plays, he gets hurt more or less. It's like the injuries are too much. It's not like Robby Ray was missing seasons. He was logging tons of innings over and over again. It's almost like it was a matter of time, I guess. So, yeah, if we see another hiccup, or if he's out for the end of this year with another strain of some sort, okay, maybe this is who he's becoming. He's breaking down. But as of right now, Robby Ray has the best track record combined with a guy who I'm not really thinking he's going to get hurt again right away. Whereas Springs, we got to remember who he is. So, former reliever, right? And the Rays just take these guys who have basically never pitched big innings. I'm trying to look here maybe at the minor, see what he was doing in the minors combined with the pros, but I still don't think as much. He did 135 innings in 2022. The year before that, he did 44. The year before that, he did 20. Then the year before that, 40. He hadn't done over 100 innings since 2017. So they really played with fire and gambled by chucking him in there for quite a bit of innings. And as we saw, his arm fall apart last year. I don't know, man. I feel like it'd be smarter for them to not. Well, first of all, the Rays don't like to give you quality starts to begin with. Man, Ryan Pepio.
You hear about his knee injury?
Yeah, weird knee infection. I don't know. Yeah. But even before him getting hurt, he's just the master of 5.2, even when he's dealing, because they're just so analytical and so frustrating for fantasy owners. So I would say if you're in a quality start league, keep that in mind with Springs. Yeah. They're probably going to want to ease him into that. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I hope for the best. If he can come back and log some good innings, maybe he can start building himself up properly instead of them giving him 100 extra innings than he'd ever had, or than he had the year before, or whatever.
Yeah, his 2023 is it started so encouraging. Three overall starts, 16 innings, 24 strikeouts. Gave up 1 run that was a home run, had 4 walks, and then hurt the arm. But you kind of brought up the innings issue. Had 25 starts in 33 total games in 2022 for Tampa for 135 and a third. That was nice, right? But that was such a jump. You kind of talked about the innings in 2021, 2020, 2019. Like we're talking about nothing over 70. And 2021, you mentioned 44 innings. We have to go all the way back to 2018 when he had over 80. And then we have to go all the way back to 2017 where he had over 110. This is kind of the polar opposite Robby Ray, right? Where it's like Robby, as you had mentioned, was really continuous with his ability to go out there and at least provide you volume, even if it wasn't Cy Young volume. And Springs is interesting. Would you, if you can get a good 2 months out of Springs, are you trading him in Dynasty?
Well, I mean, if you're saying, I guarantee you he's going to have a solid 2 months. I know I don't really view him. I'd be trading him. If I had him in Dynasty. I'd be holding him until he hopefully performs really well. Sell him as if he's going to keep doing that. Because, I just don't know. He's almost 32 now. No, he's almost 32, I think. And he is – that's not that old for a pitcher. But it's kind of a weird time to start ramping up your innings and coming back from it. Like, Robby Ray is 32 going on 33, but he's done this many times before. His arm is used to throwing that many innings. Is this too late for Springs to really be ramping up and trying to become a starting pitcher for the first time, since his time in the minors that we highlighted? I don't know, man. It's a risky move. So I'm looking elsewhere unless it's, a free shot and redraft, which that's fine.
Yeah, no, and I understand that as well. I feel the same way.
He could be great. He could be great, by the way.
He could be, but I think the likelihood is he's probably great for a shorter period of time than Robby Ray because of what you said.
Less quality starts.
Yeah, and I think in Dynasty, if I can get a good August and September out of him, I'm trading him this offseason. That's just how I feel about him
Yep.
because of a lot of the things that you mentioned. Awesome. Okay, well that kind of wraps those three. Any interest? I've got one more name floating on my brain here, Doc. Any interest in Dynasty and acquiring Ian Anderson for the Braves now that he's back, or no?
Dude, I don't even know what he's been doing. I know he used to.
So
I got heartbroken because I bought in like right after his breakout, and then it all fell apart. And I think it was a redraft league or something, but I don't even remember. But I just remember being really annoyed in one league, and I'm like, oh, I guess he's not as good as I thought he was. So I mean, yeah, he's been. What he's been? Has he been hurt this whole time or what?
he's back from TJ. So
Okay,
he's
so he
in the
did have
same.
TJ. I remember he was just
Yeah,
not good for a while.
yeah, he's in the same vein as the other three of these guys, not necessarily in talent level, but he is back from TJ, is coming back off of his rehab assignment. So he'll be at AAA. I think in deep leagues, if he's on the waiver wire, he's a great stash. I
He
think in
just got blown
Dynasty,
up in AAA.
he did, but up until that start, he was pitching well.
I'm nervous. I'd take a
Yeah,
low cost flyer. I mean, he's got the track
yeah,
record.
his cost
He's done
can't be
it
high.
before. He's done it before.
Yeah, and then he fell apart. Okay, well, that's kind of the thought I have as well with Ian Anderson. I do think it's a fun name. I do think a lot of people probably forgot about him or felt what you felt, which was you bought in and you're a little bit scorned because of the way he pitched over the last 2 years. But we're going to get into the second half. Exciting players that are not injured. First and foremost, I want to bring up Burleson. We've been talking about him for a couple of weeks now. He just continues to dominate, hitting his 18th home run. I feel like yesterday over 400 feet. Doc, give us your take on Burleson, and how much more excited this week you are about him.
Okay, so looks like I have him. This is hilarious. I have him in more leagues than I thought I did. That's so cool. So I have him in all three of my Yahoo leagues. I have him in TGFBI on some other platform. I got him in 4 out of 5 Fantrax leagues, but that fifth one is only prospect rostering, so
Okay.
I can't even get him there. That's so cool. The last one was my home league, and I was dying inside because it was a head-to-head league, and this guy just was ripping RBIs and home runs. I was just looking for a buy low window, and I said, forget it, dude. I threw the kitchen sink at this guy. So I finally managed to acquire Burleson, and acquiring him over the All-Star break actually decided the matchup. I believe the RBIs. This guy's a pure hitter. He's so weird. I didn't buy in that league specifically. I didn't. It's like a shallower dynasty league, this home league, but I didn't buy in fully because I'm an OBP supremacist, and this guy, he doesn't take walks. Big red flag, but he doesn't strike out. It's like you look at his savant page; it's hilarious. It's like he's at 5th percentile. He's 5th percentile in terms of his walks, but he's 95th percentile in terms of how much he strikes out. He doesn't strike out. He's a pure hitter. When you watch him play, he can reach. He'll hit the ball wherever it is, inside or outside the zone, and you can just. It's so fun to watch him. He hits it all over the field. He's kind of a chubby guy. He's lovable, but the most lovable part about him is how he's starting to yank him out of the yard, because that was the other thing, right? I thought he was a 20 home run guy, 20-ish. Especially, I thought he might be a platoon bat. So he's not. He is the best hitter on the Cardinals right now by, I'd say a good amount. And every time you see him out there, you think the hot streak's going to end. It looks like he just is one big hot streak right now. He's going to be in the main heart of the Cardinals lineup for a while. How is he still just 25? Yeah, he is going to. Yeah, he's 25 years old. He'll be 26 in November 25th, so the whole season. 25-year-old breakout, folks. It happened. It's real. I think this guy's legit. Let's not forget, folks. It's so funny. Nobody likes to talk about RBIs, but if you are a pure hitter, that's the upside to a guy who's not taking walks all the time. I play in my church softball league. I hate taking walks because I know I can get. That gets me to first. I know I got the wheels, and I can just poke it to wherever I want it to go if I have to, right? So, and I can maybe get to second. So Burleson, he doesn't like walking. He knows he can hit the ball wherever he wants. And when there's guys on base, that means RBIs. These aren't accidental. He's not being lucky getting RBIs. So I think he's going to be a fantasy force for years to come, actually. I think this is a full-on breakout.
Yeah, and I think I think he's at least going to be starting and startable in fantasy over the next few years because of what you said. I think Burleson is trenching himself into a top 30 outfielder. I want to see a little more consistency before I get really excited and start talking, you know, maybe top 20. But in my home league, which is our scoring is very skewed because of modifications that we've made. It's a pointless points league. We basically don't dock strikeouts. So
Mm.
Kyle Schwarber, other players are not nearly as impacted by negative strikeouts. In the last 30 days, Alec Burleson is the number one player in our league.
Wow.
Right after Burleson is Brett Rooker, who does strike out quite a bit more. Then Aaron Judge, Rafi Devers, Trey Turner, Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I mean, that's pretty damn good company for the last 30 days.
He's
And go ahead.
I was just gonna say he's almost batting 300 on the year now.
Yeah.
Which it's like if you're in a batting average only league, what is I'm in one of those, which is the most like that's the one where all the fantasy gurus are playing TGFBI. Dude, he's worth so much in that league. My goodness, what were you gonna say? Sorry to cut you off.
Well, I was just gonna say, you're really excited about Burleson, and I am too. I'm really excited about Brett Rooker. A little bit older than Burleson, plays on the A's, but we've seen a little bit longer of a track record with Rooker, more inconsistency in and out throughout months, but we have seen this power, and what Rooker is putting together this year is giving me, he's giving me excitement for the future of what he could be in Dynasty, even if it's just for a couple of years once they go to Sacramento next year. 22 home runs this year, batting 294. Him and Burleson both have the average of this year. Rooker's going to strike out more, but we're talking about a 294, 373 on base percentage with a 578 slug for Rooker. This was a guy that was floating on waiver wires for me early in the year. Are you excited about Rooker as well?
Yeah, he's a guy who I've missed basically everywhere because I saw the hot and cold nature and this was, oh gosh, this Savant page is so silly, huh? It's not something that it's a little scary with the K and whiff percentage. You see that blue on Savant, but the fact that he takes walks, I'm not sure. Was this always a feature of his? I'm going to go ahead and click 2023. No, so the walks have been increasing this year. And yeah, he's becoming more of a full. He's 29. That's fine. I mean, sometimes guys will just they'll take a little bit longer to break out fully or develop fully. And as you said, in Sacramento, man, I'm going to be wishing I had some shares of Brent Rooker. And we kind of passed over it, but Nick Kurtz for the same reasons,
and Tommy Tanks. I mean, this team's going to be exciting, right? If they can get Tommy White from LSU up with Kurtz and Rooker, like they don't really need pitching.
Yeah, well, it could be weird. If that park plays what we think it's going to, it's going to be like Coors Junior or Senior.
Yeah.
I don't even know. It's going to be this weird place where you don't want to own any of their pitchers. But it's good. The idea of Oakland is going to shift completely because I've always in my head I think I have this thing of just it being a big stadium, and I don't really target their bats traditionally. And if Rooker's doing this now, like what does that mean, right, for next?
I mean, I guess the good thing about what you just said is the fact that we don't really want to own Oakland pitchers right now unless it's Mason Miller, anyways. So. Like that's not going to change, I don't think, right? They have Morales, I think, as a prospect pitcher, but in regards to their pitching pedigree prospects, like it's kind of a bare cupboard. So they might as well just swing for the fence, literally, right?
Yeah.
Like just go out there and try to score 6-7 runs a game because you have to
Get some butts in those seats.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you actually can sell that stadium out. I'm going through the list of top guys over the last 30 weeks or 30 days right now. I've got another A on here. Have you kept up with what Lawrence Butler has done over the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think he's still striking out too much for me to really.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and confirm that, but I believe I did check this. I want to see how he's been doing the last few days as well, his splits here. But I know that before the All-Star break, I checked to see this little hot streak. It looked like he was striking out a heck of a lot. So let's see here. Yeah, so over the season, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Last 28 days, that's actually not as bad. I think he's got 5 walks and 16 strikeouts his last 28 days, mashing some bombs. See, the last 365 days, he's 24 walks to 94 strikeouts with terrible ratios. And so I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not super familiar with this game. I know some people have been really into him. He's big. Seems like he's a pretty solid athlete. Do you? I guess I'll ask you this because do you? I'm just not like I'm not out. You're actually kind of close. You have the team moving to your city, and you're also closer on the coast. So I don't really check out a lot of Oakland games in general. What do you think about Lawrence Butler?
I think I need to be very careful with how I say this. I think you take away the stolen bases, and he has an opportunity to be Ellie-esque. Um, Stolen bases is obviously what makes Ellie just this unbelievable first round talent. But take away the stolen bases, Ellie's a 250 hitter, and he's only a 250 hitter because of his exit velocity ability. And I see a lot of the same thing with Butler. Ellie strikes out a lot. Butler's at a 28.5% clip this season. That's a lot. It's a lot. But he hits the ball at 92.2 miles per hour average exit velocity. That's going to get you hits. And I've watched a couple of his games over the last couple of weeks, and I mean, from the eye test, he's a good baseball player. The problem is I haven't been seeing the strikeouts. So, and I remember seeing a lot of people live where they just can't hit the ball, and you're just like, you're never going to hit the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Butler right now is on one of those streaks where he's really showing his athletic ability, and he's showing what his upside can be.
24.
I think and I think that's a fun player. He can develop still, but
Yeah.
28.5% is too much for a guy that doesn't have that elite level speed. His Savant talks, or I guess showcases a 59th percentile top speed. That's
Not
not
great.
going to lead to anything more than 15 stolen bases a year. But I think he's definitely a name to keep an eye on. And I think in rebuilding stages, I think I might be trying to acquire him just for the heck of it now. 24 years old is enough where I think he could probably get that strikeout rate to 25, maybe 23%. And at 23%, I think he could be a very, very useful fantasy player.
We're gonna break the record here. We're gonna be a broken record here. But in Sacramento, imagine, could be even better, right? And without going too much into it, because we're not gonna become an Oakland A's podcast by accident here. Max Schumann is actually the guy I
Yes.
picked up in a bunch of leagues.
I looked at him, yeah.
This guy's been super useful. I mean, he's walking at a 92nd percentile in the year. And that's on the year. So that's interesting because I know he's really peaked lately. So I would like to know what percentile he's been in the last few weeks. But yeah, he's not like the fastest guy, but he's stealing bases. He's getting on base. He's a deeper league type of guy. It's so he reminds me of Daniel Schneemann, almost the same name.
Yeah.
Schneemann's kind of cooling off a little bit. We'll see. I'm not giving up on the dream just yet in the deeper leagues, but it might be Schumann time now. We'll see, man. It's I guess the Oakland, whatever they are, the Athletics have a lot to. They're not a lot, but they have some prospects for the future after all.
Well, and it's funny the Schneemanns, the Shoemakers. There's always this there's this fun name that you can put on the guys that are like the super utility guys that come out of absolutely nowhere and provide fantasy relevance.
Yeah,
and we're seeing that from a few guys this year. Next name I want to bring up, I'm kind of going to throw this one against the wall, Doc. It's Ben Rice. Yankees, we talked a little bit about him through the last couple weeks. Average exit velocity at 91.1, which is kind of in line with what he was doing at AAA. Max EV at 110. K percentage is a little bit of a concern at 25.5 for the rookie, but walk percentage at 13.2. He's kind of doing just enough for New York to be an impact player and a difference maker, but the strikeout rate does concern me. Are you in or out long-term in Dynasty after what you've seen over what is 420 pitches at the major league level?
I'm not really concerned about. I'm not even really concerned about a 30% K rate if you're getting everything else done. If you're taking walks, he's taking walks at such an elite clip. He's hit it. He's hitting the ball very hard. However, he is starting to hit a bit of a slump lately. He had 0 for 5 today, which Savant's not going to take into account yet. It's such a small sample size. He's going to hit bumps in the road. It's been a kind of a tricky last few games. I mean, again, he took 2 walks last night, so I don't even really know how much of a slump we're looking at here. They should probably take him off leadoff duties if he's going to have a struggle here. At the very least, give him a chance to get some confidence lower in the order. I actually just cut him today in a very shallow league, so I don't recommend doing that. But in a dynasty formats, still much excited about him. Deeper formats, definitely hold on to him in that lineup. Although someone who maybe we should start paying more attention to is Austin Wells.
He's heating up, yeah.
He's really heating up.
Yeah.
He must have heard that Ben Rice was coming and didn't want to be. I mean, honestly, beyond that, if we're being serious, I mean, look at Augustin Ramirez down in the minors, doing pretty well. And so, Austin Wells is over here. Hey, dude, I got this cool mustache. I'm starting to fit in here in New York. Let me keep my job a little while longer. He's got 371 OBP over the last month. So, and he's starting to hit
that'll play. Well, and we, as I like the Yankee prospects. I'm not necessarily a Yankee fan, but I own enough Yankees where I watch Yankee games enough to, I guess, be a fan. I want to see Ramirez have a good development track. And I feel like if Wells had not turned it on, the calling for him to be rushed to the majors probably would have been there. And the catching position is not one of the positions that I think is beneficial to be rushing constantly. I think Ramirez needs to finish the year out at AAA and come into camp next year and really fight for an opportunity to make the club. Hopefully Wells can produce the major league level and return some value for fantasy owners who have been loyal to him, because we were just talking a month ago how it was like, how long until Wells is, losing playing time.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see this turnaround. It's time, Doc. We're going to do a little Drew Thorpe conversation here. We are now at 5 consecutive quality starts, dating all the way back to June 22nd at Detroit. Thorpe coming off just last night in Kansas City, 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 walks, 5 Ks, no runs. I mean, at this point, I think we've been vindicated, right?
I don't know what else. I mean, I guess you want to see 10 strikeout games back. I don't know. It's so funny. I almost went into a Thorpe tangent earlier. I had to stop myself when like guys like DeGrom and Glasnow. Obviously, they're studs, okay? And that's the upper echelon. But anytime a guy throws triple digits, I guess a better example would be the Daniel Espinos, Ricky Tiedemann start to look like that. These guys who just can't stay healthy as prospects, they don't seem to lose any prospect momentum. I'm like, what do you mean? He can't be a starting pitcher if you can't go beyond 30 innings. It's like Jackson Jobe needs to prove that now. He needs to make sure he's not going to be this guy who's dinged up all the time. And he might, maybe we'll talk about him later. But the Drew Thorpe is like this pretty safe play, guys, especially in deeper leagues. Like we play in a 30-man league where you are the New York Yankees, so maybe you are a New York Yankees fan.
Yeah, I guess that didn't work out.
Randomly given to him. But in a league like that, and I wish I had Thorpe in that league. There's 30 teams, guys. How many starters are there in MLB, right? So like starting pitching really becomes a premium, which is cool because that's how it's like in the real world. But a guy like Drew Thorpe, the deeper the league, the harder the pitching is to find. You want this guy, especially if you are a quality start league. It's blowing my mind. People are like, really, it's taken some time for them to get on board here. I'm like, guys, Miles Michaelis has a role as a quality start specialist, and he's like in his, 36 now? He's getting up there. What happens if you had Miles Michaelis at his all-star kind of level? If you had him or like in his, the best Miles Michaelis as a 23-year-old. And I don't think I'm totally insane in saying that, calling Drew Thorpe an all-star, because as of right now, his numbers are all-star tier, first of all. Secondly, I mean, he's got similar thing. Miles Michaelis has these has a nice pitch mix, and what he lacks is a lethal changeup. Like there's no Michaelis. I don't think has one killer pitch. He's just a grinder, pure grinder.
No, and I think I'm going to jump in real quick just before you finish. I think we're getting closer to Zach Allen, right? Zach Allen's got the changeup and it has a really good knuckle curve. So like Thorpe doesn't have that yet, but Doug Grissom had a 3.03 ERA with a 1.01 WHIP. He walks more batters than he actually allows hits. If you could really look at his profile, the 22nd of June, he had 4 walks, 2 hits, and 6 innings in Detroit. 28th, Colorado, he had 2 hits, 1 walk. The July 5th in Miami, he had 2 walks to 3 hits. Like his profile is incredible. I am actually okay with the guy that's walking this many players because he's minimizing the hits. And I think that's very Gallen-esque.
Yeah.
And his profile is actually what I wanted out of Tanner Bybee coming into the year. Bybee's not been this profile at all, and very different pitchers, but Gallen is a set him and forget him, guaranteed quality start, right?
Yeah. It's so weird that I can feel pretty confident throwing a White Sox pitcher who I don't really think is going to throw a lot of Ks out there every week, and he's a rookie at 23 years old. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty confident. Like, I feel good putting him out there on my fantasy team. I'm like, yeah, he's probably gonna get me a quality start. I'm not sure if it'll be a shutout. Maybe he'll be some collateral damage here and there if if he throws his low velo stuff in the heart of the plate. You don't want to do that.
I do want to toss some water on the fire, though. The only thing I'm noticing here in this 5-game stretch that we mentioned, it was at Detroit, it was Colorado at home, at Miami, and then at Kansas City. Kansas City's got a better offense this year than I think we still continue to project, but
they have a very good
not the best offenses, right? Like it's not the Yankees, the Orioles. I do think that's just something to monitor. Is just his play strength.
I mean, at the end of the day, he's played 1, 2, 3, 4. You said did you skip the Twins there?
I did skip the Twins.
You skipped the Twins. Yeah, so,
it helps fall in line with my narrative.
And he struck out Julio Rodriguez in his first game too. It's like it's not. Guys. This is what I mean. Like it's like we're trying to find the problem here. I mean, for fantasy purposes, the problem is obvious. He's not a high K guy. Maybe here's the thing though. He's 23. I mean, is it possible he develops some of these other pitches? I saw him get a strikeout with a slider the other night. Like, if he can get a mean slider in there, what does that do, right? It won't take a whole lot for him to go from a steady presence to a really good fantasy pitcher. Well-rounded. I mean, at the end of the day, though, how many categories do you use? ERA, WHIP, and quality starts. Those are 3. And if he's going to give you, I don't know if he can yet, but he's shown that in the minors last year, he did 140 innings or almost 150 innings. If he can be a 200 inning guy, well, maybe he gets up to 150, 180 Ks over a season, right? He's going to be this volume dude. So I don't know what else you can ask for at this point, but I'm very excited for the future of this dude.
Yeah, and as we continue to see him get deeper into the schedule, face some different opponents, we'll get to see different profiles, hopefully, of him. But I think, as I mentioned, Kansas City, Miami, Colorado, Detroit, Minnesota, at the end of the day, he's still also playing in a good division to pitch against the volume of that division.
Mm-hmm.
And as we start to see Schultz and Smith come up, some of the other prospects that the White Sox have, I think as his responsibility falls to that 3-4 position that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and those pitchers come up also to help him with his own development, and they get to talk shop, get to talk about how, they're spinning the ball and what grips they're using.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you. I think at 23, we're talking about a kid by 27 that could be a 9x9 K guy, right? A strikeout per inning. And
even if he's Logan Webb, that's fine. Yeah. That's great.
Well, and also kind of referencing your DeGrom comments about, high velocity, Glasnow-esque pitchers that sure have the ability but come with the risk. It's nice to have Thorpe because we don't often talk about this profile. Like, this is a profile that I think you and I have been hung up on.
Just a one last line is just, I just lost in one league. Wisniewski, I was kind of holding out some deep hope there again. Frig, it's not working out. Reese Olson and Ryan Pepiot in one day. All 3 starting pitchers. I'm like, well, thank God I got my greasy Michaelis Thorpe combo here. These because they were just like kind of nice quality start bumps. Well, now I need pitchers. I'm running out of arms, right? And so good to have them there.
Yeah, so let's kind of transition into that into the good to have arm conversation here. 2 more topics that we'll touch on before we say goodbye today. First being, who gets the call? I have a list of names here, and if you want to toss a few in, please do. Jackson Jobe, Kate Horton. I have Burns on the list. I think that's a little ridiculous, but I wanted to toss him on there. Bubba Chandler. Who do you think, pitching prospect-wise, gets the call in the second half that we should be excited about?
Not Cade Horton, because he's got the lat strain that Grayson Rodriguez had, so I'd say forget about that. Jackson Jobe. I mean, dude, the Tigers are starting to get some injuries. I'm going to go take a look at Jobe's numbers here while I actually promote a dark horse. It sounds like River Ryan's coming up. I'm not sure if that's happening or what with the Dodgers, so that would be interesting.
I heard that he will be in their bullpen.
Okay. Well, the fact that he's getting, they're starting to push him in there. All it takes is one injury or Kershaw re-aggravates, whatever, right? So that's a guy to keep an eye on. I'm not sure if he's an upper echelon prospect, but he's certainly worth noting. I think a dark horse is Quinn Matthews. And I've mentioned this before. So he's doing great, and he's responded to every challenge. I got another name too. Every challenge so far he's faced, and Tim Kent's, I believe, is currently injured, or he got injured. He missed some innings. So I think he's kind of, in my opinion, at least, he's temporarily leapfrogged Tim Kent's as the best arm prospect, the best pitching prospect in the Cardinals system. And so what does that mean? That means if the Cardinals keep they're finding ways to win games. This Burleson guy's helping a lot. Ever heard of him? Anyway, what happens if Goldie finds it again? Who knows, right? There's all kinds of things that can happen. If one of their, all it takes is one injury, guys. We just saw the Tigers lose a couple arms. So what happens if one or two Cardinal pitchers go down, even temporarily? You're seeing Quinn Matthews come up, especially if they're in contention come September. Especially, I mean, he might just be up in September as bullpen depth, regardless. So that's a guy, right? When the rosters expand, and I'm hoping I can get him in our 30-man league because he's actually not owned. So through debut,
really,
yeah, dude, I got number one spot. I'm holding on.
You've had the number one spot all season.
I didn't know I did. I wasn't even paying attention. I've been busy, dude. I looked recently and I'm like, oh, I could get Hunter Biggie right now, or Biggie, whatever his name is.
And I'm like, wait. No, I should probably wait for Quinn Matthews.
Yeah, I could even get River Ryan. He's unknown, but
nah, wait for Quinn, dude.
I'm waiting for Quinn.
Quinn's definitely the wait.
And then just I'll put it back to you, but a couple other names. I think Zebby Matthews is actually more obvious. He's at AAA and dealing, and he's so fun. Hayden Birdsong, 12 Ks the other night. So much.
Birdsong was really nice.
And there was another guy, and I can't seem to think of him right now. So, what do you think about all that?
Yeah, I like Quinn, and I think Quinn's a great choice because I like to think about this as how careful is an organization going to be about an asset that they heavily invested in, and that's not the case for Quinn Matthews. He's a 4th-round pick. He was a college senior. He's incredibly outperformed what was expected of him at the minor league level. I mean, look at where we're talking about him now, and he'll be 24 in October. So all of that saying, like, call him up and get those bullets firing at the major league level. Like, this isn't Paul Skeens where it's like, oh my gosh, are we going to blow his arm out? No, this is a guy that should be impacting the major league team. I think him and Zebby kind of both fall in line with that. Both players that were spike players in 2024. Both teams are, playing well right now. As you mentioned with Burleson's added help for the Cardinals, they're winning games and they're in the conversation for this division now, especially a wild card. Quinn Matthews, I think, arguably steps into this rotation and might be the 2nd or 3rd best pitcher right away.
I mean, it's hard. It's hard, man. This is why I defend Drew Thorpe so much. It's not easy pitching in the big leagues, man.
Yeah.
You get beat up pretty quick. I mean, James Wood is a batter, but he's struggling now, and Langford went through it. Everyone, Jackson Holliday. It's tough. We don't know what's going to happen. But that said, I certainly think, what are you saving it for, kid? The prom? There's just this old saying I heard once. It's like, not right now. Don't take out Lance Lynn out of your. He's reliable.
Yes.
You need those guys. But one of them might get hurt between now, which is not even August yet, and September. And even if one of them's struggling, if you have Kyle Gibson's been playing pretty well too. They have the grindiest rotation. Michaelis, Lynn.
Gibson has been really good.
Really good.
Yeah. Gibson's been really good. Doc, I think the one I'm most excited about is Bubba Chandler. Second half pitcher. I think he's really starting to kind of come into that form as a guy that does better in the second half, which I don't like at the major league level because I do think there's something to that, whether it's cold weather, rust, getting comfortable. I don't love to see that, but the kid, I think, is primed to come up and provide value to Pittsburgh. And I think once Jared Jones is back, Pittsburgh's going to be inclined to do it, having Skeens, Jones, and possibly Bubba Chandler in that rotation to finish the year and give that fan base something to get excited about. We just talked about the Cardinals playing well. The Pirates are playing really well.
Yeah.
Came out of the break playing well. Just right before the All-Star break, we're playing well. Are sitting around 500. I think Chandler is an immediate impact and plus into this rotation. But, what they really need is bats. If you look at him just in July, 14 innings, 12 Ks, a 1.84 ERA at AA. He did have the forearm strain or tweak this year. So that's the only thing to be concerned about Bubba Chandler.
It's so mysterious, these guys in the minors sometimes. I was just looking at Tim Kent's there. I'm like, you heard my ambivalence or my vagueness. I was like, yeah, I think he's something.
Is he hurt?
He's not even on the IL or anything like that, but he hasn't pitched since June 23rd. It's a mystery. One of the top prospects in baseball. You can't find information about it. I kind of like it. It's old school, but like, what the heck, right? As a fantasy guy, I'm like, all right, I guess. Well, for me, it's just like I can't take him seriously right now as someone to go to the major leagues if he's not pitching. On the flip side, I did look at Jobe, and I know earlier this year he was doing short stints innings. He is doing in Double-A 5-6 innings at a time. The last 3 games so far. Since coming back from, I think he was bumped and bruised up. But if he can keep doing that, if Jobe can keep doing that, I mean, they could put him in there now. It's just your philosophy. It's a lost season. Do you just have him see what he can do? Do you think that'll wreck his confidence? He's playing so well. I think you could get away with promoting Jobe right now.
Well, so this is what's funny, Doc. I think because we have so many extra wild card spots now, we get lost in the idea of like who's actually in contention. I do, at least personally. Detroit's only 6 games back of a wild card. They're 49-51. I'm not saying that they should commit to like going for that 3rd wild card because you have Tampa, Seattle, and the Red Sox ahead of you. Like, good luck. Mm-hmm. But if an organization believes, hey, we need to make the push, Jobe's absolutely the guy you called up. Much like Bubba Chandler, where it's like, hey, we got a guy in-house internally that can make a difference.
Yeah.
Like, let's get him up.
I think with that mindset, you have to call them up right now, though, because they're not the White Sox, but 11 games back from the American League Central. I mean, hey, look what Skeens did, right? Imagine how it's like. People forget. We look at the models, the numbers, they're great, but the psychological element of a hitter who has Paul Skeens on your side. So now you go out there like, dude, I might just need to score 1 run and we win. Like there's like a decent chance that Paul Skeens is going to shut them out.
And I think too, when you look at some of these teams like the Tigers, Colt Keith has really come around and performed really well for them as of late. I think that has helped their win streak in the last 10 games. They're 7-3 in the last 10 games. Burleson for the Cardinals, I think there's not probably a better representation. You've hit on that over and over, which is great. Right? Are the Cardinals winning games without Burleson? Absolutely not. No. They're 52-47. We were talking about them 2 months ago as an embarrassment and a team that completely needs to shake it down, right? Like change their organizational philosophy. Well, here they are in the wild card position.
I will give a disclaimer just for anyone who took my word on Quinn Matthews there. He did stumble 6 runs against his last game. So that's not the end of Quinn Matthews, but it may put a little bit of if the Cardinals were thinking about it anytime soon, they'll be like, nah, more seasoning for another few games at least.
Okay, we got one more topic. And we just talked about prospect pitchers. Let's go into prospect hitters. I've got some names for you, and I wanted to see, A, do you think they come back to the major leagues this year? And B, do they make an impact where maybe they could provide value to teams, either chasing down for the playoffs or going into 2025 for exciting expectations? First name, Jordan Walker. Second, Junior Caminero. Third, Jackson Holliday. Do we see these guys back in the majors?
I'm so not sure what to. I'm starting to get really concerned about Jordan Walker. I'm wondering if the Cardinals broke him and Victor Scott. I don't know what's going on. Very different players. Like, funny, Victor Scott has too many fly balls and Jordan Walker has too many ground balls. Hey, guys, hang out together.
Pick up some tricks.
Right? Just come in there somewhere in the middle. I've actually heard rumors. I've seen it on X there that Cardinals want to trade Jordan Walker. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Free the kid. Like, you guys are idiots. Like, I don't know. And maybe I'm wrong. That's just me being so frustrated because it looks to me, I just don't get it because he has all the physical tools. He seemed like he could have been maybe a pure hitter type. And then it's from what I understand, they said, no, we want to change your swing. And now he can't play baseball at all. It's like, what the heck? That's what I see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe something's wrong with Walker and his approach to the game. I don't know. He seemed like a good kid. So I don't know, man. I don't see him coming up to the bigs this year, man. Unless it's with another team, maybe. Caminero, it's his health. I don't know. I don't think he's healthy yet. Rays are so weird. But if they're going for a playoff push and the rosters expand, I'm sure, and he's healthy, sure, bring him up. Jackson Holliday, I think it would take an injury or two. When does the minor league season end? It ends before the MLB season, correct?
Yeah, but very, what's what I'm looking for here? It's like the second or third week of September.
Maybe you bring him up to the bench as a guy like near the very end of the minor league season.
To protect his rookie eligibility, but get him some more experience.
Yeah, just to have him hanging out with the guys, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I think I'm going to reference the Cardinals conversation you were just talking about, Jordan Walker. Juan Yepez right now for Washington is playing really well, adding his name to the many players, the Luke Voits, the Randy Arozarenas, the Adolis Garcias. I think Alec Burleson would have just been the next name in that list, potentially, had he not, come and broke through this year, because they just don't seem to be patient enough with their players. And I'm really hoping they give Jordan Walker the opportunity. He's batting 173 in July in the minors, 13 strikeouts to 8 walks, no home runs. Like it's not a good slash line, but like you said, they might have broken his approach. I hope they trade him. As a Brewer fan, I'll take him. Please, like, come over to Milwaukee. But I also don't know what their asking price would be, right? Like right now with them in contention in the wild card spot, it's probably a starting pitcher, like a good one. Um, so I don't know. Like, our team's willing to trade a top 30 pitcher for a guy that has question marks? I don't think they would be. And then at that point, is St. Louis just balking at offers, because you're kind of caught in this weird grounds where it's like he could still be a top 50 player in the major league level, but he could also never hit again, right?
I think they know what they have. I think they know his potential. I think he's I know he's still 22 years old, very young. So it's very frustrating development. After coming in, I don't think I really finished my thought, but he came up there, and after including his struggles, he still ended up finishing with a 274 batting average, making a lot of contact, like 16 home runs. He was coming together. It's such a sad story of like what the heck happened here. So yeah, no, I wouldn't be moving him unless it was for something pretty solid. I don't know exactly what they. I know they could make upgrades, but it's almost like this team should be better. I could see an argument for starting pitching depth. Who are you knocking off? Probably Lance Lynn, but what do you do with him after that, right? You just have him pitching Lance Lynn in middle relief, long relief, I guess. I feel like his ego wouldn't like that. And he got his annoying Lance Lynn guy throwing stuff around, the locker room. I don't know. So it's tough. It's a tough situation. We'll find out. It's trade deadline's coming up soon.
So out of these three players, we talked about Jordan Walker, Junior Caminero, Jackson Holliday, long-term dynasty. Who are you still most excited for?
Holliday.
Holiday.
He's
Okay.
a dude. He's a ball player. There's so much, you can talk about power upside with Caminero all day. First of all, it's the same as pitchers. Stay healthy, dude. And also, I don't with that. The organization is so weird. Between Holiday's bloodlines and his pure hitting ability, dude. We just saw it with Burleson. Even if and that's what people are scared about with Holiday. They're scared. Well, it's funny. Some people think that that's who he is some guy who's going to strike out all the time in the big leagues. Unless his brain cannot handle big league pressure, which I doubt, being the son of Matt Holliday. Having those expectations his entire life. I don't think he's a strikeout all the time guy. I think his approach actually says he's a pure hitter. So I think what people were worried about before he struggled in the bigs is how fun is he for fantasy? Is he just going to hit really well? Well, Burleson just showed us what hitting really well can get you, right? Like everything, and then adding on some speed, adding on some power. That's when it becomes a super. You get a Holiday could be a superstar maybe one day, right?
Yeah, and I think that power will come. His brother has some power. I saw him hit a 111 with a wood bat that a few X accounts reposted. That kid is going to be dangerous. Definitely going to have more power than Jackson. I don't know about the actual hit tool, if it's going to be similar, but he's bigger. He's bigger, even more developed, and just kind of more in the build of his father. He's going to be a really exciting FYPD pick when he's taken next year. Projected right now, I think they're still saying that the 1-1 in the major league draft. But yeah, the Holiday family, definitely. You said it. I don't think there's any concerns there mentally. Honestly, when I watched the games with Jackson, it just looked like every pitcher was out there throwing as hard as they could against him. It looked like it was like the WNBA version of Caitlin Clark, where everyone was just super pissed off that this kid got as much notoriety as he did.
Okay. Yeah.
And like they just brought it. Like every at bat Jackson Holliday was up in the zone 99, 98. It's like, geez, fading changeups down and away. It's like we're bringing their best every single time to him. And for a 20-year-old, that's not easy.
Yeah, it's not, man. So he'll be back. I guess one of the rare people not that worried about all this. It's part of baseball. No one's freaking out about James Wood, but a little bit more slumping, and he's in the same kind of spot. You know what I'm saying? Like, he might have to go back down for some seasoning. Maybe not. Maybe he's Wyatt Langford, I think they should let him figure it out of the bigs for as long as possible. Wyatt Langford went through a dip. It's so funny. People all over. I'm sure you can see the old tweets or old posts. Wyatt Langford bust. Oh, this kid sucks. He's never gonna make it. We have such a TikTok kind of. It doesn't matter how old you are. We have this. What have you done for me lately thing? Probably also tied in with fantasy football, which you can't afford to wait more than a few weeks, right?
Well, and I mean, the side piece with Wyatt is I think it's important for everyone to temper expectations in regards to what they're doing in the minor leagues, right? Even James Wood as well, Jackson Holliday. Like we saw these guys absolutely torch and do the best you could possibly do at that level to come up. And Langford struggled. Holiday struggled so much that they set him down. Wood is struggling. It's like clearly it is a big jump from one to the other. Wyatt Langford's still sitting with an 88.7 mile per hour average exit velocity. So, that's not the kind of number that we thought we were going to see with his power numbers at the minor leagues. But it's like, hey, like it's a different league. It's literally a different league.
Yes.
Doc, that's all I have for us today. Is there anything that we should touch on before we say goodbye?
I don't know, man. I'm just excited. Is trade deadline's next Tuesday?
Yes, Tuesday.
Not this Tuesday,
4 p.m. No, next Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern.
All right. Well, I'll be in Canada for our next podcast recording, so I'll start talking like this, eh? Maybe the old Canadianisms will get back on me. I'm sorry about that ahead of time, Pod.
I like these. I love the Canadian accent, and I know it's not Canada, but the Fargo, the television show, that those accents get me every single time.
It sounds pretty similar sometimes, man.
Yeah, it sounds a little similar, and it just feels wholesome. It feels good, soul touches the soul.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, everybody. It's nice to be back. Nice to be with you here, Doc. I will say goodbye.
I'm your Huckleberry.
We'll see you guys next week.